Who really decides how valuable your life is? The views of people around you or the cultural prism that continuously observes and evaluates? Or is there something deeper at play? Within you, in a society where every behavior is closely examined, discussed, or it's simple to believe that the world's constantly shifting judgments are holding our sense of value prisoner? Yet what if I told you that you have always had the ability to define your own value? Let's discover a groundbreaking reality. Your worth is derived from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, which the crowd's cheers or their criticisms aren't influenced by ephemeral likes or outside verification of your actual value, originates internally from the qualities you exhibit. The freedom is in the values you follow, and the life you choose to lead in an authentic manner. Stoicism has the ability to permanently alter your self-perception. We're going to explore today how the timeless wisdom of Stoicism may transform your imagine having a strong feeling of self-worth that enables you to rise above the incessant din of social demands. Your own ideals should lead your life, not praise or acceptance from others. Authenticity and resilience are the transformations we are investigating. Even while there is some truth in these traditions every day, today has been demonstrated time and again to help treat anxiety and depression, but the truth is that we're not stopping there. We're really pushing you to look inward and find approval within yourself, rather than looking for fair warning. Some of these concepts could rock the foundation of the world around you. Basis of your present perspective on success and approval, particularly if you're used to looking for praise from others, if you're prepared to abandon the traditional way of thinking and explore the profound and empowering lessons on how to live a Stoic life and make it uniquely yours. If so, you're at the right place. Let's begin by podcasting with, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who are embarking on their own journeys. Fred Whitehall. Philosophical investigation and personal development continue till the very end to show us how ancillary wisdom is greater pertinent now more than ever, and the reasons why sometimes the deepest realities about our lives and identities demand that we. Let's take a moment to examine something we all encounter but rarely discuss. Confront and challenge what we believe to be true. Pause to carefully consider the external validation trap, which is a web woven by our culture is ingrained in our everyday lives in a way that makes us feel happy. And our sense of self-worth is frequently correlated with how many likes, comments, or following we gain. But the crucial question is whether or if these factors truly determine our value. Transient declarations give way to Stoicism, a philosophy based on the knowledge of classical Greece and Rome that audaciously. The Stoics remind us that true value doesn't conflict with this contemporary obsession, originate from other people's praise or the weight of their opinions, but it actually, our virtues of moderation, knowledge, justice, and courage serve as a reminder that outside influences. We have no control over what other people believe or say about us, and at the end, unrelated to our actual happiness. Now picture leading a life in which your inner tranquility is unaffected by a harsh, this is the strength of Stoicism. A judgmental glance in public or an online comment doesn't shake you to your core, not just about putting up with life's challenges, but about learning how to concentrate your energies solely on what actually matters. Are you prepared to recover that energy and reevaluate your value? Was there not an almost overwhelming want to see what you had posted online the last time? Responses. Each notification feels like a tiny burst of approval. It makes you feel better, but the truth is that it's only temporary. Before long, you're returning feeling rejuvenated and eager for more. This cycle may be INX poisoning us. Further from true self-sufficiency and inner peace and further into a reliance on outside approval, but it doesn't end there. This urge for acceptance permeates our everyday lives, influencing our behavior, appearance, and even our decisions are made with the intention of receiving praise from others. Here's the harsh reality. You give up the power you're gaining when you allow other people's opinions to determine your level of enjoyment. Your sense of value on a basis as unstable as the constantly shifting views around you. Enter the philosophy of Stoicism, which provides a potent remedy for self-validation. The Stoics encourage us to look within and look for internal approbation. Their final objective is to construct an inner citadel, a stronghold of self-worth that is unaffected by outside shocks. This isn't about completely disregarding other people. It's about realizing how liberating it is to live a life based on your own principles and deeds. End goal: when we give internal validation precedence over external validation, we begin to escape the trap. We start living intentionally and making decisions that this change is difficult. It requires us to connect with our own selves instead of pursuing ephemeral applause from the crowd. Time, effort, and bravery, but the benefits are significant. It's a route to choosing a life that is in line with your values and taking back your ability to define yourself are two aspects of authentic living. Your achievement, not by the standards of others, but by entering the realm of Stoicism, provides a transforming view of one's own value that stands in sharp contrast to our contemporary, validation-driven society's norms, which are based on timeless teachings. Citing notable intellectuals, such as Epicus Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius Seneca, offers a strong fact. Self-worth comes from within, not from approval from others. Let's take a closer look at what Stoicism tells us about true value. Something that is fundamentally yours, based on your virtues, and can be given or taken away based on the judgments of others. You develop in the decisions you make that are consistent with those values. Regarding the implications for your day-to-day existence, the quantity of likes on your most recent article does not determine your value. Praise for your accomplishments or remarks about how you look, but outside recognition isn't always. Unfortunately, it's a flimsy basis for something as important as your identity. According to the Stoics, self-worth is based on following reason: remaining loyal to your nature and accepting your core traits such as courage, knowledge, justice, and temperance. It all comes down to asking yourself the most important questions. Am I making decisions I can live with? Living really and morally makes this internal conversation the cornerstone of unwavering self-respect. Stoicism encourages you to examine yourself and find your self-generated self, regardless of the situation outside of you. Consistent source of your value. It's a freeing ideology that gives you to define your own worth and lead a morally upright and purposeful life. Examine the Stoic daily reflection practice, which is frequently carried out through journaling or contemplative meditation. Is a technique for strengthening your internal value system every night by thinking back on your life, not just about improving yourself. Your day, not to count your accomplishments or criticize yourself for errors. However, if you honestly assess your behavior in relation to your beliefs, this exercise serves to reinforce the knowledge that your value is based on your capacity to live morally, not on the shifting sands of. According to popular belief, adopting this Stoic approach doesn't imply that you stop caring about other people. Rather, it's a regarding adjusting the impact of outside voices on your self-perception. In a Stoic attitude, comments from others is not a gauge of your value, but rather knowledge that might help you become more in line with Stoic qualities, is about turning both criticism and praise into instruments for personal development without allowing them to disrupt your inner tranquility. The beauty of considering self-worth as an internal concept is that it becomes much more secure and in control. You're not subject to the whims of people or the demands of society that encourage you to fit in, but instead provide you the flexibility to live a life that genuinely represents your character and is based on the sound ideas of Stoic philosophy. Examining the idea of inner courage from a Stoic perspective reveals an inspiring feature of this age-old Stoic courage. In philosophy is more than only performing valiant deeds or facing physical difficulties. It's about the courage you need on a daily basis to live true to yourself and follow your principles. Inner courage is fundamental, even in the face of external pressures and concerns. Stoicism is about having the strength to face your own shortcomings and anxieties, and choosing to do things that are in line with your inner values instead of just trying to obtain something or avoid discomfort. This kind of courage challenges you to examine yourself and consider not just what you do, but also why you do it in order to gain societal acceptance. Are your activities motivated by a sincere conviction that they are correct, or are they impacted by a desire for outside? Whether you're looking for approval or dread rejection, Think about the situation where you, for an unpopular reason, yet the bravery here lies not only in standing up, but also in conquering. The Stoic bravery is the ability to stay on course even when it's difficult to face your own doubts and anxieties. Rocky, you should have faith that your inner compass is focused on virtue. This stoicism shows us that genuine bravery entails confronting both internal and exterior obstacles. Vulnerabilities is the ability to acknowledge and process your feelings, including worry and dread. Considering them as normal human experiences as opposed to flaws, this acceptance does not imply being influenced by these feelings, but rather evaluating them logically and making wise decisions. It is incredibly freeing to lose this kind of bravery since it releases you from oppression, of attempting to influence things that are beyond your control, such as other people's viewpoints or every individual's life. Instead, it guides you toward your values and what you can manage. When you live this way, guided by inner courage, you're making decisions about your values. You're actively molding your life in accordance with your inner self, Stoic courage, rather than merely responding to the outside world. Includes being willing to change your opinions and behavior in light of fresh information or sounder logic. Because it calls for you to let go of possibly deeply held beliefs when they no longer serve you. Adaptability is a type of bravery. Longer withstand logical examination. Rather, it's about having the guts to develop and change while acknowledging that Stoic wisdom is not about knowing all the answers, but rather about developing this ability to seek them out with an open but discerning mind. We develop a resilience that is profoundly Stoic by having inner courage. That not only helps us survive but also helps us thrive by turning life's unavoidable obstacles into opportunities. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to exercise virtue for personal growth, strengthen our adherence to our Stoic values, and broaden our comprehension of what it means to live a. When you think of Stoicism, vulnerability may not immediately spring to mind, yet it's a key component of the ideal life. Vulnerability is a surprisingly strong component of this ideology that frequently gets a bad rap as perceived as a sign of weakness or as something to be concealed. However, Stoicism challenges us to completely reconsider this idea, teaching us that vulnerability is not only unavoidable, but also a great strength when used wisely and with self-awareness. Let's dissect this. Stoicism recognizes that we are all prone to feelings, errors, and the Stoic courage does not lie in ignoring these catastrophes because, after all, we are human. Human characteristics, but in accepting and rationalizing them, Stoicism's vulnerability is about acknowledging our limitations, worries, and uncertainties, and then bravely and honorably face them. Think about how it takes more bravery to be vulnerable than to hide your own emotions or act like everything is fine. Is acceptable. It entails sharing your difficulties and uncertainties, not just those of others. Can correct problems, but only if you face them head-on and resolve them. In a positive way, this is a crucial component of Stoic practice, employing reason to manage our feelings and turn possible flaws into opportunities for development and self-improvement. But why consider vulnerability as a strength, since it enables sincere introspection and growth by admitting your weaknesses, which allows you to take action to fix them? From hidden anxieties that keep you in the background to obstacles that you can overcome. Direct engagement like this fosters Stoic resilience, which is founded on knowledge and insight rather than just grit or denial. Additionally, accepting vulnerability promotes deeper. When you are open about your shortcomings, you build relationships with other people. Allowing others to do the same can result in more supportive and meaningful relationships. Stoicism in interpersonal relationships, as well as in a larger community, encourages a community of logical and helpful relationships, rather than isolation based on sincere moral exchanges. Accepting vulnerability also fits with focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot is a Stoic habit. When you acknowledge that certain facets of life, such as feelings and the behavior of others, are beyond your control, you're liberated to concentrate on how you handle their vulnerability, which then turns into a practice area for controlling them. Over your responses and choices, not over the idea of the outside world that when mortality vulnerability is accepted, it results in a more genuine life. Permits Stoics to face and embrace their actual selves in all of their flaws and doubts. Acceptance makes people more determined to live by Stoic qualities rather than weakening them. Resilience is frequently discussed in terms of merely recovering from adversity, but through the prism of Stoic practices, take on a deeper, more profound meaning that goes beyond simply. They rethink our entire view on what it is to be resilient and help us recover from challenges. Using Stoicism and resilience to turn possible setbacks into potent chances for development and self-mastery, grounded in the fundamental idea of the philosophy, which is to comprehend and operate within the control Stoics' focus dichotomy, strongly on distinguishing between what we can control, our own ideas, actions, and responses, and what is not, specifically outside circumstances and other people's behavior. This emphasis is not by focusing our efforts solely on what we can affect. We can transform passive resignation into an active, empowered discipline. We use our mental faculties and maintain our resolve in the face of life's uncertainties. For instance, the often referred to as nightly meditation, the Stoic practice of daily reflection. Examine the day's events not to focus on the things that went wrong on the outside, but to assess their own answers and get ready for new problems through this type of self-reflection. Increases resilience by encouraging the practice of taking lessons from every circumstance, rather than Stoics view setbacks as stepping stones rather than as a sign of defeat. Perspectives on how to better manage comparable circumstances in the future, in addition to teaching us the skill of how we view a difficulty, is a crucial component of resilience. Decides how we react to challenges if we perceive them as insurmountable barriers. We are more likely to feel overburdened, but if we view them as expected, natural assessments of our character, and decide that we take a more positive approach to them, this change doesn't lessen the severity of adversity while enabling us to deal with it with grace and purpose. The premeditation of evils is another Stoic strategy for fostering resistance. This technique, called premeditatio malorum, entails imagining possible obstacles and failures are not depressing. Rather, they train the mind to manage challenging circumstances when they come up, lessening the shock and dismay that can come with unforeseen challenges. It's mental resilience training that helps Stoics be calm and practical in any situation. Situations, and resilience in Stoicism also refers to preserving an adherence to our principles in the face of outside influences, as demonstrated by the Stoic concept of amor fati, a love of fate. Stoics work to embrace and not just accept whatever life throws at them, believing that each encounter has worth and can further their moral, and this acceptance of philosophical evolution is active rather than passive. Participation in life by deciding to perceive the positive growth potential in every experience or bad. Let's explore how Stoicism might help us develop resilience that is based on something other than avoidance. But from a pragmatic perspective, resilience via Stoic techniques is embracing an attitude that views life's obstacles as necessary. Our ethical and personal development involves developing an inner strength that endures and even strengthens under pressure. Stronger with every challenge. This isn't about ignoring or withdrawing the wise counsel of others rather than focusing on decision-making and enjoying a life that is truly yours, and not a reflection of what society expects or what someone else wants. At the core of Stoicism is the concept of materially independent self-sufficiency. However, Stoics on an intellectual and emotional level work to develop an inner strength that relies less on outside conditions and additional information on inner tranquility, logical reasoning, and moral behavior. This is about building a relationship, not about being emotionally detached or frigid. Content that stays steady despite the world's unavoidable fluctuations. When we base our life on our own judgments and are guided by morality and reason, we are able to overcome obstacles with using Marcus Aurelius as an example, who was a Roman emperor under extreme pressure. He adopted Stoicism to live as well as reign. His reflections encourage us to ask ourselves questions with honesty and morality. Are we motivated by what is good and right? Or are we swayed by fear of being judged or a desire for acceptance, concentrating on your own course, and adopting the Stoic idea that The challenge lies in the fact that impediments are possibilities, rather than merely barriers. For periods of development that encourage us to use bravery, temperance, justice, and this wisdom alters our perspective of life's journey, making it seem less straightforward and uncomplicated. Road, but rather as a sequence of significant educational opportunities that mold us into more morally upright and wiser people. When you adopt this Stoic attitude, every adversity turns into an opportunity to rise above, act with intention, and fortify at your heart. It's not about avoiding life's storms. Rather, it's about, let's discuss one of the most empowering features of Stoicism, how to handle them with grace and purpose. Developing personal accountability is fundamentally about owning your decisions and the results they bring. Even if we have no control over the things life throws at us, stoically shows us that we have complete control over our responses. To take control of your reactions, you must change your focus from external events to internal strength. It's about not blaming the outside world or other people for your difficulties. And rather than focusing on myself to determine what I can do differently, how I can align my acts with my core beliefs. This type of independence is tremendously freeing, but it's not. Without its difficulties, it necessitates ongoing attention to detail and a refusal to give in to peer pressure or the simple solution requires daily reflection, which is the cornerstone of Stoicism. Exercise in which you take a moment to consider your objectives and actions to make sure they stay loyal to your values. In the end, following your own path is about being genuine and creating a life that is not influenced by outside forces, but rather one that reflects who you really are and strive to be demands. But because of your rationale, decisions, and moral behavior. Imagine leading a life that is guided by a set of principles rather than being influenced by ephemeral beliefs or social norms. Stoic ideal that guides you toward what is truly good and just. By adhering to this ideal, you don't simply creating a fulfilling and purposeful life for yourself, helps create an environment where morality and integrity are valued. Let's embrace this transforming insight and tread routes that illuminate the road for everyone, that are exclusively our own, molded by genuineness and directed by the timeless principles of Stoicism. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and playing such a vital role in our ascent. Keep in mind that living a Stoic life is about more than merely navigating life's storms. Involves transforming them into potent chances for development, insight, and every action you take along this route is a step closer to living a courageous, honest, and genuine life. Contentment as you proceed on your path and seize every opportunity to develop stronger, lead a more moral life. And if you're prepared to delve even farther into the ideas and practices of Stoicism, take a look at the recommended videos that appear on your screen, filled with knowledge that will further inspire and empower you. Did you know that 85% of individuals suffer from poor self-esteem at some point in their lives, which is frequently caused by the constant barrage of negative self-talk? Take a moment to consider that about 90% of us are trapped in a cycle of uncertainty. Emotional setbacks and self-criticism are statistics that make us stop and inquire as to what is actually taking place in our thinking, regarding the internal conversation that greatly influences our level of happiness, and therefore, we are setting out on a quest to address one of the most prevalent issues in contemporary life. Tyranny of pessimism. This goes beyond simply being quiet, the critical voice inside of you. It's about genuinely escaping, enabling yourself to lead a life free from the tangle of uncertainty, one that feels purposeful. And we go to these ancient thinkers' timeless Stoic wisdom for answers when we're feeling insecure. In their own right, mental warriors realize that our thoughts are more than just background noise. They are the ones who shape our views, form the basis of our feelings, and eventually produce own experiences, even while we might not have any control over the outside circumstances in our lives, total control over how we understand them, which is where the Stoics were most successful, instructing us on how to face life's obstacles with courage, reason, and inner peace. In this session, I'll help you comprehend the effects of negative ideas and, more crucially, investigating practical tactics based together. We will demolish them in Stoic philosophy, to discover how to recover mastery over your inner story and cultivating an attitude that isn't driven by fear or self-doubt, but with qualities like courage, intelligence, justice, and temperance. This is more than simply another inspirational speech. It's a call to action and an opportunity to disprove the ideas that have prevented you from moving forward and find a new path. If you're hesitant, I understand that it's both useful and transforming. Although it's normal to doubt change, I urge you to stick with me through everything. Today's exploration may reveal some deeply rooted patterns, but it may also. Before we delve in, let's take a look at the door to personal growth on a scale you would not have anticipated. If you know someone who is on their own journey, take a moment to share this journey with them. Self-improvement, show them this video, and together we can start a chain reaction of empowerment. If this speaks to you, then do us a favor by clicking the subscribe button to help this channel and join our expanding group of considerate, goal-oriented people. Let's start this amazing journey together, opening the techniques to reduce negativity and live a life that is motivated by strength, clarity, and purpose. Negative thinking is more than simply a passing annoyance or a transient unpleasant mood. It is a widespread problem that can significantly affect many aspects of our lives, including our feelings upon waking up, the decisions we make regarding our careers and health, and thoughts like this can be crippling in relationships. But what is truly bad? Fundamentally, thinking is a habit of assuming the worst, which undermines our own efforts and frequently believing we are not as competent or worthy as we actually. Now, why do we fall into this trap? According to Stoic thinkers, we are disturbed not by the actual occurrences, but more by how we perceive them. Epictetus famously stated that men are disturbed by these happenings not by objects, but by the view that they have of them. This viewpoint is important to comprehending our issue with negative believing that our perspective, not necessarily reality, is what limits us. Carl Jung's study of the psychology offers additional insight into how we perceive the world, that the less aware aspects of our minds, the individual and collective, are responsible for a large portion of our unpleasant thoughts. Unconscious Jung stated that until the unconscious is made conscious, it will guide your life, and by introducing these unconsciously held views, you will refer to it as fate. Prejudices into the realm of conscious analysis, we can start to lessen their influence over us. The effect this has on our daily lives is that when we encounter difficulties, negative thinking might make us believe that we have already lost before we have started, which stops us from taking the exact steps that could result in achievement. It's similar to rowing a boat with all of your strength, but not recognizing that, despite your best efforts, you are anchored to the beach. Going anyplace. Stoicism teaches us to critically analyze our thoughts, and it seems sense to doubt the veracity of these unfavorable presumptions. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditation, encourages us to examine our thoughts critically, and to reject this type of reflection enables us to identify those that are unreasonable or ineffective. Break free from negative thought patterns and take back control of our mental environment. Don't undervalue the impact of our cultural and societal context in a world full with. It's easy to detect messages of inadequacy, whether it's not being successful enough, wealthy enough, or intelligent enough. Why bad ideas can infiltrate these messages, which frequently find a home in the growth of uncertainty and insecurity in the mind, might stifle our potential. However, Stoicism gives us the means to eradicate these obstacles and we're addressing the problem of negative thinking today. So it's not a garden of more empowered and encouraging thoughts, only about ignoring or avoiding bad thoughts, but also about fully comprehending, challenging, and then substituting them with logical, helpful reasoning. This Stoic method isn't merely coping, it's about thriving by controlling our thoughts, perceptions, and eventually our lives. So as we go on, let's remember that any idea we decide to amuse and everyone we choose to take on is a step in the direction of knowing the causes of negative thinking is essential to living the life we genuinely desire. Vital, if we are to deal with it successfully. This goes beyond simply recognizing poor habits. It's about revealing the underlying causes that mold our views and affect our mental environment. Negative thoughts frequently originate from a number of sources, including our upbringing and the demands of society. Failures and occasionally the seemingly unimportant remarks made by those in our immediate vicinity can all sow seeds. With uncertainty, worry, and restriction that can develop into a chronic condition of many of us are exposed to circumstances that may not promote strong self-esteem from an early age. Think of an educational system that seems to encourage intelligence versus a child who is constantly told they are not smart enough. Only perfection has the power to profoundly alter our perspective on the world. According to Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, however. If we apply this way of thinking to the mind, we can observe that it can become ingrained to think negatively about ourselves and our talents on a regular basis. Personal encounters with rejection and failure might strengthen these detrimental. Every time we experience a failure or receive criticism, scripts might validate a whispering negative thoughts that I knew I couldn't accomplish it. This can turn become a self-fulfilling prophecy, rather than because we are unable of Plato's theory, that we start acting in ways that are consistent with our negative thoughts. Since the mind creates reality, altering our thoughts can alter our reality. Is extremely pertinent in this context. By scrutinizing and questioning our understandings of these incidents, we might begin to undermine the basis of our pessimistic views. Fear also plays a crucial part in encouraging pessimistic thinking. It's a natural defense mechanism that frequently turns into anxiety or stress that overwhelms our ability to make logical decisions out of fear of failing. Fear of rejection and of the unknown can also cause catastrophic thinking, in which the mind leaps to the ISM provides a mechanism to counteract the worst conceivable outcomes, which include the premeditation of evils, which is meticulously imagining the worst-case situation. To reduce, Carl Jung proposed the following: its emotional impact when or if it truly occurs. Your life will be guided by the unconscious until you bring it into awareness, which you will name. Sadly, a lot of our negative ideas stem from unconsciously held beliefs that were shaped during our formative years by these unspoken ideas frequently go hand in hand with guardians, teachers, and the medical uncontested. Since our conscious minds do not fully understand them, resulting in this belief, consciousness can take away their authority and give us back control over our ideas. In addition, society and it is impossible to ignore cultural pressures, since we live in a culture that frequently highlights competitiveness and scarcity. With extraordinarily high expectations that may appear unachievable, this setup can result in Stoicism teaches how to deal with incessant comparisons and feelings of inadequacy, us to shift our attention from outside approval to our own merits, urging us to gauge achievement based on our own development rather than on contrasting ourselves with others. The origins of negative thoughts can be complicated and varied, incorporating emotional factors and personal experience. Encounters deeply rooted anxieties and social cues, but by utilizing the knowledge of Western psychology and philosophy, especially the Stoic emphasis. By managing our thoughts and emotions, we can start to comprehend and break these harmful cognitive habits. This profound comprehension not only lessens their impact, but gives us the ability to rebuild our mental model in a more resilient and constructive manner. When we discuss rejuvenating our thoughts, we're not merely implying a little effort to think more optimistically, we're promoting a significant and long-lasting change in our internal discussion. This is about developing an attitude that allows us to not only the Stoic philosophers provide timeless advice on how to not only survive, but also flourish. How this might be accomplished via the methodical process of thinking back on our ideas and purposefully forming to promote serenity and resiliency. One of the main principles of Stoicism is the notion that our feelings and responses stem from our assessments, which we have the ability to modify. Marcus, as the philosopher and Stoic Emperor Aurelius famously observed, "You have power over your mind." Recognize this, and you will discover a great source of strength. Assertion serves as a reminder that taking charge of our thoughts is the first step toward rejuvenation, checking them for accuracy and then bringing them into line with our actual goals and values. Aristotle also offers a useful viewpoint in this regard, stating, The foundation of all wisdom on this introspective journey is self-awareness. Entails probing deeply into our mental processes to distinguish between those that benefit us and those that hinder us. Our endeavors by increasing our awareness of our ideas, we might start to question the detrimental ones that may have developed over time as a result of this technique. The goal of questioning and altering our thoughts is to better understand our feelings rather than to suppress them. Handling them more skillfully, in addition to Carl Jung's understanding of the human psyche, beautifully complement this Stoic wisdom. Jung contended that what you resist not only endures but also enlarges. Rather than fending off negative Stoicism, encourages us to recognize and examine our thoughts and evaluate their sincerity. This keeps these ideas from lingering in the dark of our unconscious, where they might develop unchecked, while also revitalizing the intellect demands that we interact with resources and activities that promote optimism and growth, which could involve reading challenging philosophical literature. Knowing how to interact with inspiring art or just spending time in meditation and introspection are practices that offer fresh perspectives and viewpoints that can take the place of our outdated, useless tales, as Socrates insisted. Here, the significance of leading a life that is scrutinized is vital because by regularly analyzing our beliefs and the ideas that result from them, we undergo a mental regeneration process that maintains our spirits in line with our philosophical objectives and our minds sharp. This continuous analysis is not only a chore, but a way of life that maintains our Plato's internal world was revitalized and receptive to the truth of our experiences. Also underlined how crucial it is to conform to the ideal forms of justice, beauty, and goodness. Similarly, reviving our thoughts might be viewed as an attempt to put all of this into practice. We can begin each day with a straightforward affirmation or Stoic reflection that sets the tone for the kind of thoughts we wish to nurture. It could be an Epicus quote about the power of our responses, or a Jungian mantra that reminds us of the strength found in facing our shadows. By striving to these ideals, we create a self-concept that is robust, compassionate, and profoundly wise. These routines serve as the foundation for a refreshed mind. This idea entails deliberately selecting the people, places, and media that promote and improve our mental and emotional health. Sena famously said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." This advice pushes us to choose our company carefully and to build relationships that push and inspire us to advance. When Aristotle talked about friendship, he divided it into 3 categories and touched on the significance of the company we keep. Those that are useful, enjoyable, and good. Mutual respect and admiration of each other's virtues form the foundation of the highest and most valuable type of friendship. Friendship of the good. These relationships inspire us to become better versions of ourselves and are essentially positive because they are based on a shared pursuit of excellence and virtue. Plato's allegory of the cave also teaches us about how our surroundings can affect how we perceive the world. The people who lived in the cave thought that the shadows on the walls were reality, because that was all they had ever seen. However, when one of them escapes and sees the outside world, he realizes the limits of his knowledge and is able to reach a higher state of knowledge. This metaphor beautifully demonstrates how enlarging our surroundings to include enlightening and positive influences can significantly alter our perspective and comprehension. According to Carl Jung, our psyche is influenced by shared memories and ideas that form the collective unconscious. These shared cultural elements shape how we perceive the world and ourselves. By choosing environments that are supportive and positive, we can influence the archetypes that dominate our personal narratives, moving away from those that emphasize fear and inadequacy, and toward those that embody strength and self-actualization. In practical terms, surrounding ourselves with positivity entails more than just being around positive people. It also entails interacting with content and activities that support our philosophical and life goals. It entails taking part in online and offline groups where conversations are based on support and helpful criticism rather than negativity and criticism. Maintaining a clean and orderly living space, which according to Stoic practice reflects a clean and organized mind. Or decorating our spaces with art and symbols that remind us of our philosophical commitments. Like courage, are two examples of how to create an environment at home and at work that reflects the values and virtues we admire. It also calls for us to be watchful about the media we consume, choosing books, films, and programs that inspire and educate, rather than ones that feed fear or despair. Moderating justice and wisdom. Seneca's word. Hang on to your youthful enthusiasms, you'll be able to use them better when you're older. Reverberate through time. By surrounding ourselves with positive people, we are essentially fostering or holding on to our enthusiasms that align with our better qualities, which not only improves our own lives, but also sets an example and a beacon for those in our circles, causing a positive ripple effect in our quest to overcome negative thinking. As Epicus so eloquently stated, first, think about what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This simple instruction highlights a vital Stoic principle. The Stoics remind us that awareness and intention alone are insufficient. Action is necessary. Our beliefs must be demonstrated by our actions as well as our ideas. Stoic action is making conscious decisions each day that are consistent with our wisdom principles and entails practicing habits and practices that support our philosophical ideals. By acting with justice, courage, and moderation, we may dispel the negative beliefs that we are weak or undeserving and change our story to one of empowerment and self-efficacy. In his theory of the mean, Aristotle also highlights the importance of action, holding that virtue is a state of character that arises from the regular practice of choosing the mean between excess and deficiency, rather than only a state of mind. According to Aristotle, this practice is fundamentally active. We become just by acting justly. Action is not just a display of virtue. It is the process by which virtue is developed. Brave by acting with temperance, Plato's theory of forms, which holds that to know the good is to do the good, that is, that true knowledge once attained inevitably leads to right action, also sheds light on the transformative power of action. By bringing our actions into line with our Stoic understanding of good, we move closer to the Platonic ideal of good, which affects not just our minds, but our entire being. Carl Jung's theory of individuation, which is the psychological process of fusing the conscious and unconscious minds to reach self-actualization, emphasizes the need for action even more. According to Jung, this fusing happens not just through contemplation, but also through experiences with the outside world that test our preconceived notions and force us to change. He contends that you are what you do, not what you say you'll do, emphasizing that our true selves and psychological maturity are revealed through our actions, so Stoic action entails more than just battling negative thoughts. It's about actively exhibiting the qualities that characterize Stoicism by making decisions, both big and small, that demonstrate a dedication to philosophical integrity and self-improvement, such as choosing to forgive someone who has wronged us or speaking kindly in a trying circumstance. Every action we do moves us closer to being the person we want to be, and adopting a Stoic attitude involves accepting life's obstacles as chances for personal development rather than running away from trying situations. Stoics view these as arenas for virtue practice, where every obstacle serves as a catalyst for action and an opportunity to show resiliency. In practical words, exercise patience or reaffirm your dedication to our values. Setting daily objectives that align with our ideals might be a simple way to practice Stoicism. Participating in community service projects that promote justice and kindness, or keeping up practices like journaling or meditation that promote introspection and self-reflection, both combat negative thinking and strengthen one's virtues. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that one's speech and deeds both reflect one's virtues. It is impossible to overestimate the influence that words have on our world. Epicus recommended understanding the meaning of your words before speaking. This concept highlights the innate ability of words to affect others, in addition to expressing our feelings and ideas. The Stoics recognized that words had the power to strengthen or weaken our inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius frequently considered how to communicate effectively and truthfully in his personal writings, stressing that our words should be seasoned with the virtues we cultivate, such as kindness, self-control, and honesty. By aligning our speech with these virtues, we strengthen our Stoic practice and spread its influence outward, positively affecting those around us. With his ideas of ethos, pathos, and logos, which emphasize the persuasiveness of speech, Aristotle also adds to this discussion. He maintained that credibility, ethos, emotional connection. According to Aristotle, pathos are essential elements of effective communication, since our speech patterns and word choices not only convey information, but also influence and change the environment we live in. Plato's dialogues also demonstrate a profound understanding of the power and precision of language. For example, his Socratic conversations show how Socrates challenged presumptions and revealed deeper truths through dialogue and questioning. From a psychological standpoint, Plato demonstrates how we might help others achieve deeper understanding and self-awareness through thoughtful and deliberate discourse. The Stoic emphasis on conscious speech aligns with Carl Jung's psychological beliefs. By bringing these unconscious impulses into conscious awareness through discussion and introspection, Jung argued that we can better integrate our psychological components, resulting in greater wholeness and health. He wrote extensively about the power of the unconscious, and how language can both reflect and shape the unconscious impulses that drive our behavior. Words' power is not limited to. The words we choose to speak to ourselves have a big impact on how we see ourselves and how we feel, even outside of social encounters. A common human experience, negative self-talk can be especially harmful, lowering motivation and heightening feelings of powerlessness. On the other hand, constructive self-talk based on Stoic virtues can. The power of words in Stoicism is not just theoretical but also incredibly practical. It encompasses our conversations with others, our internal monologues, and even the way we interact with a wider culture. Empower and uplift. Positive affirmations are a practice frequently advised in contemporary cognitive behavioral therapies, and they work well with Stoic exercises. These affirmations reinforce the strength and resilience that come from a Stoic understanding of control and virtue. They do this by affirming our ability to control our responses and our dedication to living in accordance with our values. As we continue to acquire Stoic values, every word we pick has weight, either enlightening or harming. Let us always be aware of the transformational potential of our words to mold ourselves, impact others, and bring about a world that is more in line with virtue, wisdom, and reason. We appreciate you joining us on this life-changing adventure into the profound wisdom of Stoic philosophy. Today, we have examined the timeless principles that serve as a reminder of the tremendous control we possess over our own lives, including the ability to act with intention, choose our words carefully, and face challenges with grace and courage. Keep in mind that your daily decisions, both in terms of thought and behavior, constitute the foundation of a life based on resilience, virtue, and purpose. As you proceed, keep in mind the lessons we covered today, and allow Stoicism to serve as your constant compass, guiding you through the intricacies of life and turning every setback into a teaching moment and every obstacle into a chance for personal development. If today's conversation struck a chord with you, I urge you to continue your investigation, because every choice you make, no matter how minor, is an opportunity to align yourself with your highest ideals and get closer to the person you want to be. Our upcoming video explores the Stoic method of surviving hardship, a subject that might further enable you to navigate life's storms with steadfast composure and inner strength. All it takes is one click to begin exploring this transformative concept. As you continue to navigate your path, know that you are not alone. May you find clarity in your thoughts, strength in your actions, and peace in your journey. This channel is more than just a platform. It is a community where we are cultivating a shared commitment to wisdom, growth, and strength. By interacting with these teachings, you are not only improving your own life, but also inspiring those around you with a ripple effect of clarity and resilience. I appreciate you being an important member of this community and choosing to live virtuously and intentionally. Stay strong and live stoically, and I'll see you at the next one.